Okay, here we go. Okay, welcome to the live. Oh, no one's here yet. Okay, I'll just wait. Hello. Hi, Ashley. You're the first one in here. I haven't done a live in a while. Oh, gosh, it's 6:30 already. Wow. I just haven't had time. Okay, so I got a couple people turning up here. I'll just wait for a few more before we get going. In the meantime, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? Okay. We had every so often you get a viral video and you never know what it's going to be, like ever. You can never plan that. The one that just took off was on co-sleeping and bedtime battles. Anyway, I don't know if you've seen that one, but yeah, a lot of criticism and others came with that. So yeah, that's our latest viral video. Caught alive. Hi, Shania, Connecticut. Ashley's in Connecticut. Just asking people where they're from while we're waiting. Texas. Hello, Kayla. Texas. I got to get there one day. Anyway, yeah, so we're quite taken aback by that video going viral, because a video that goes viral is never one that we think is going to. It's bizarre. So anyway, it was interesting. So what we think we're going to do a whole podcast on that, because it took us by surprise. It was bedtime battles, like how to co-sleeping or not co-sleeping, what you want to do. So yeah, we'll probably end up doing a podcast on that one, because we didn't realize it was so polarizing. So yeah, we'll discuss that. Janine is Virginia. Hi, Janine. Mount Morgan. Oh my goodness. Mount Morgan, Queensland. Never heard of it. I lived in Brisbane for about 20 years, or 15 years actually. I lived there. Never heard of Mount Morgan. I'm going to have to look it up. Oh, you're in, near Rocky. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Never been up that high. Or have I? No, I haven't. Anyway. Okay. Interesting. Never heard of it. Drumbo. Where the heck is Drumbo? Why don't I know where Drumbo is? That's in Canada. Drumbo. So I got to look it up. Drumbo is, near Toronto. Okay. I see. Okay. Never heard of Drumbo. Ness from Florida, just out of Rocky. Yeah. Or Rockhampton, sorry. Rexine, Wisconsin. Never heard of that. But I wouldn't expect to, because I'm Canadian and Australian. I would expect to know Canadian and Australian, but I know a lot about the States too. Florida, I know where that is. Newfoundland, hello, Kayla. New Zealand, Chelsea, we used to ski in Queenstown. Orange, California, I know where that is. Byron Bay, wonderful. Washington, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, excellent. You were close. It's Shawnee. Okay. Well, I put the E in there, didn't I? Or it's still in there, but it's differently. Wisconsin, Tessa. Pretty sure I got that name right. Gatineau, Quebec. It's Emmanuel. Richard is in New Whalem, Washington. Now I'm in Vancouver. Never heard of New Whalem. New Halem, Washington. Got to look it up. I've learned to look things up right away. Otherwise, I forget. Oh, you're sort of near. Oh, it must be a small town. Yeah, it looks like it's a small town. Oh, do you ski? I used to go down to Mount Baker quite often from Vermont. Sorry, I got enough people going. I should probably get going with the live. And then also I've got Kristen on YouTube from Ohio, and Jess from Coastal California. That's a big coastal. That coast is big. Is there like a place that people refer to as coastal California? Never heard that term before. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions after I introduce myself. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's BratBusters.com. You sign up for my newsletter and you'll get my free behavior board. It's like a mini course. It also has a toddler section in there because the behavior board is for 3 and above. So you can do that. You can also look into our courses, or you can look into coaching. Sorry, I got a huge wait list right now. I'm going to get to that. Hopefully I'll get to that soon. But anyway, you get lots of free stuff out there. You don't have to buy anything. So you can also listen to our podcast. My daughter and I do it together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast, and we talk about all things parenting. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. I'll do my best, and I mix them up. Also, I don't get to all the questions because I like to throw in just some general information. Like a lot of people ask about disciplining, but that's not what I'm really all about. I'm more about connecting with your kids, making them feel good, increasing their self-esteem. You want them to be self-disciplined. You do not want obedient soldiers here. You want them to make good choices for themselves, okay? But anyway, that's what I'm all about. So discipline, yeah, I talk about that a lot, but that's not the whole basis of my business at all. Brenda, oh, thanks for your support. Yeah, we have a lot of fun doing the podcast. My daughter and I do it together. What was a typical argument? Not an argument, but it's typical of something I did wrong. Geez. I won't go into it, but anyway, so it was something technical. And I knew when I did it, I shouldn't have done it. So my daughter was here the other day working on something with me. And then I told her about it. And I said, I actually clicked on this link. And she goes, Mom, how often have I told you do not click on links unless you're sure of the source? So I'm like, I know. So then she had to fix it all up, check into it. And then afterwards, she gives me the lecture. She goes, Mom, and I'm ignoring her. I'm in the kitchen cutting up something. She says, Mom, look at me. And I'm like, what? She says, what did I say about links? Do not click on them again. It's a typical example of our relationship. I'm still very much the mother. But yeah, she's more the leader now for sure. But I'm still mom. When push comes to shove, I'm still mom. But yeah, we have a lot of fun. Is there any way to send questions in a private way due to legal circumstances? Not really. No, that would be coaching. Yeah, that would be coaching. If you want anything in depth with questions, that's all coaching. I'm really busy. I don't have time to just answer a lot of questions. Okay, good. I won't read the first part because it's embarrassing. This is Richard. Now, using too many words was absolutely ruining parenting for me. Speaking less is so much better. Stopped having TED Talks and started giving short answers. Yeah, it's when push comes to shove, when things aren't happy or when they're pushing you or asking you too many questions about what they want and they're being difficult, basically. Silence is golden. Just answer them quickly and then end that conversation. You want to control the narrative. Don't let them control the narrative. So let's say they say, I want ice cream. And you say, no ice cream tonight. And then but why? But I said, but I want it, but blah, 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 blah. You just say, I already answered you, then shut it down. Change the subject once they calm down, but let them have their tantrum. Don't ever try and micromanage their tantrum or them even. Let them manage themselves. But eventually they'll learn that the negative stuff doesn't work with you and the positive stuff is great. That's why connecting is so important. When you're connected and you're a fun parent and they enjoy being with you and you enjoy being with them, that's just all you're going to end up getting, okay? The negative stuff will melt away. Without the connection, the discipline doesn't work. Okay, this is Kim Walker Boland. Your tips have helped me so much in my preschool class. I'm happy about that, but I really don't know anything about teaching, so I never teach it. A huge portion of my clients are teachers because a lot of stuff doesn't cross over, but some of the tips can work for sure, but a lot can't. Because you connect in a different way with your own kids, it's personal, than you do in a classroom. But yeah, a lot of stuff does cross over. So I'm glad I can help. And then you've got to edit out what you know won't work and will work. Like a really good example of what's fantastic in a school, in a classroom, but is a disaster at home is reward charts for good behavior. Total disaster at home. What it says to your children is you're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a gold star or some kind of reward. In a classroom, it's very personal. In a classroom, it's not personal. All 30 kids are on that. They don't take it personally. It's just different. And besides, you're not the parent. I just teach parenting. I don't teach how to child psychology or principal or teach. And a lot of my clients are those careers, but I couldn't do their jobs and they struggle with parenting. Very different. Business, personal. How to stop my 4-year-old from hitting, put on the behavior board, which is free on my website, put on the behavior board, no hitting, and just follow through with the consequences. There's always 2 consequences for, by the way, you're on that behavior board too. If you're not a leader, and I teach leadership. So if they do hit, the consequence would be something like this. Maybe it could be empty the dishwasher within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. You always put a time limit on that first consequence, and it's just, they don't have to hate it. It's just a good deed. So you're showing them how to be good. So they just did something bad. Now you're going to get them to do something good. If they choose not to do that and they argue with you and they don't do it, you don't argue with them. You don't keep reminding them. You just keep looking at the timer. Oh, 10 more minutes. All you are is a timekeeper. Anyway, so if they do that chore or whatever, then that's fine. It's all over with. Don't discuss the bad behavior. What you discuss becomes more and more and more. You're just building it, right? You don't want to put your energy and focus into the bad behavior. You want to put it into the good kid. Anyway, if they won't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation consequence. That's the one, something like this: 24-hour media blackout. That means no screens for a whole day. So they'll eventually learn. But yeah, you always start with the positive action. It's their choice to do something good. If they choose not to, then you take away something that they'd like, right? That was their choice. They'll eventually learn. One of my favorite stories with coaching, I always get permission to tell these stories, but I never tell names anyway, of course, but it was so cute. Little 7-year-old boy. He didn't know the mom was within earshot, and he had 24-hour media blackout, and he loved his PlayStation or Switch or whatever it was. And he gets it back, and he's sitting in front of it after 24 hours of not having it. He sits down in front of it, holding his controller, and he said, "Whew, I won't be doing that again." I thought he said that to himself. I thought that was so cute. So in other words, he understood it was him, right? It was his choice. It's always their choice. If they do so, it's their choice to do something bad. It's their choice not to do the positive action consequence. Therefore, it's their choice to get 24-hour media blackout. That's how you always want to look at it. And they will eventually get that. Okay, this is on YouTube here. I'm on Facebook and YouTube. Whenever I'm doing a live, I'm always on YouTube the whole time. That's where all my lives are saved. And I've done thousands of them by now, but they're all on there. And then I hop from Facebook, my smallest platform, to Instagram, bigger, and TikTok, my biggest one. And that's how I do it. So anyway, if you're interested. Okay, I'm just looking on YouTube here. Okay, twins are 19 months old. My granddaughter's 19 months old. If they fight over a toy, do you take it or give it to who had it first? 19 months old, it's really difficult with twins because they're peers, right? They're sort of the same power. There's not an older one that you can sort of talk to a little bit differently. So you just, if they're fighting over one toy, you say, no, okay, so you get that for a few minutes and then hold the other one back and then say, okay, your turn. It's labor intensive doing it that way. So you're giving them each a turn to give the toy back and forth. Or you say, no, he had it first, and then you can give the other one or redirect them potentially. I don't always use redirection with toddlers because they're sort of got to learn just to, sit in it kind of thing. But yeah, if they're twins, it can be a little bit different. So. Tips on the I want and won't share. Toddler toddler is not 3. That's a child, preschooler. With sister at childcare to friends. Okay, so they I want, and they won't share. Just put down for the child, for the 3-year-old, use the behavior board. It's free on my website. And their rule is no grabbing things off others. So you can't really teach them how to share so much as you can teach them not to do that bad behavior. I'm assuming they're grabbing stuff off of others, okay? So just start there and see how it goes. You might have to get a little bit more in depth. If they're just hogging something and they didn't grab something, you might have to teach them how to share. But you got to be extremely specific. You can't just say, share and be nice. It's ridiculous. You can't say that. It has to be very specific. But not grabbing stuff off others is very specific. So I'd start there. And then you have a consequence. I keep forgetting to ask permission for some of these stories in coaching. I had a real interesting thing come up in coaching, and I know the parents are there. Not one parent has ever said, no, you can't share that story. But I forgot to ask. It's such a good one that kind of pertains to that. Next time I talk to them, I might ask that. I never use names, but I always like to ask first, especially if it's identifying. A lot of stories I'll tell that are not identifying because I've dealt with the exact same thing with hundreds of clients. So it's not identifying at all. So if I say I was talking to a client the other day, it might have been the same thing that I've talked to hundreds of clients about. But otherwise, if it's very specific, like that 7-year-old saying, I'm not going to do that again, that was very specific. Okay, sorry, I'm reading YouTube here. Oh, sweet. Okay, this is from Ash Buff. Hi there, back after about a year of fixing ourselves. Good, because I teach parenting, not kidding. It's always about you. And I can happily report my now 4-year-old is now verbal, listens to no, has little fits, but gets over them quickly. Thank you so much. Now, I always say I give the advice, but you're the ones who do all the work. So congratulations. You should be very proud of yourself, Ash. Okay. Okay, this is Lola K. I want to be a fun mom, but I catch myself yelling often. How do I change my behavior? What if older child is doing something fun but dangerous, like jumping on couch and toddler wants to follow? Yeah, I just put the older one. Okay, the toddler, you do consistent corrective actions, so you just pull them off the couch and you say no. But the older one is the one you want to go after. That's the ringleader, usually the older one. So you say no jumping on furniture from now on, put it on the behavior board, and if they do, there's a consequence. The younger one's following your lead and the other one's lead. So work on that older one. So yeah, put it on the behavior board. And if you're yelling, it kind of almost cancels out the behavior board. Like what I mean, I always put no yelling as your rule on the behavior board if you yell. Initially, you're going to do some yelling, but if you're very prone to yell, and if it is something dangerous, I would yell. Like if a kid was going to run out in the street, I would scream. So yeah, so yelling is okay in appropriate situations, but generally I never yelled. I don't even think I ever had to yell with that, but anyway. So yeah, I would just put on the behavior board, no jumping on furniture, go from there. Yeah, yelling is a big one. And parents always ask me, how do I stop yelling? You know what that's like? It's like I used to teach fitness 2 years ago, and people would often ask me, how do I get myself to the gym? That is your challenge. That is your challenge. Like I can tell you what to do instead of yelling. I can tell you what to do when you get to the gym, but I can't get you to the gym and I can't get you to stop yelling. What I can do is teach you the benefits of not yelling or going to the gym over a period of time, but it takes time. You can't stop like that. I'm teaching you what else to do instead of yelling, but it does take time to stop yelling. And that is your challenge. I unfortunately can't help you with that. When I have clients that I've been working with for a long time, a lot of it is just they just want someone to bounce parenting ideas off of. It's not like they're going through big stuff all the time, right? So, but a lot of them say, I'm still struggling with this. I can't believe I'm still struggling with my own anger and all that. And I say, that is the hardest thing. It's because kids can drive you nuts, right? If you're not a leader and they get the better of you, they can drive you around the bend. So you're not alone if you're going through that. Give me any advice for strong-willed kids, please. Well, I happen to like strong-willed kids. I don't think it's a bad flaw. I don't see it as a flaw. It means that they're just strong-willed. It can be used for good or evil. So set yourself up as a leader, and it doesn't matter if they're strong-willed. They'll be strong-willed for good instead of evil. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a personality trait, and it's not a bad one. It just means you have to learn how to redirect it. So that's what leadership's all about. And those are all the kids I worked with. I never worked with an easy kid. I always worked with the strong-willed, challenging ones. So yeah, it wasn't a matter of trying to break them. You don't want obedient soldiers at all. That's ridiculous. You want kids with good self-esteem, self-discipline. That's all I teach here. And when they feel good, they do good. What you want is when you're with kids, you want them to feel good about themselves. But I don't take any crap. I deal with bad behavior, but it's fast, it's over with. And then I'm focusing on connecting and dealing with the good kid. I'm trying to bring the good out in them, right? That's the pool story. Check that out. It's my best video out there about how the whole idea of my parenting, of what I teach, it's the pool story. I got tons of videos on it. Just Google BratBusters pool story. I can't tell it again. I've told it thousands of times. I think I'd soil myself if I had to tell that again. I just have told it so many times. Sorry about that. Sorry I was so graphic, but it's who I am. Okay. My 4-year-old says, Mom, why didn't you answer me the first time I called you? I don't understand that. I don't understand that question. They called you and I don't understand. So they called you and you didn't answer, or were they just being rude? I don't know the context around that, so I can't answer that. Did you just not hear them, or I don't know. Like maybe you were wrong. Maybe you were just ignoring. I don't know. A 7-year-old girl won't stop tattling on a 3-year-old sister. Thoughts? Yeah, I would say, look, unless there's blood spurting from an artery or a bone sticking out of the skin, I don't want to hear it. And if I do, there'll be a consequence for you. So I would put down on the behavior board, she's old enough to understand this, no unnecessary tattling. Okay? So yeah, just start there on the behavior board, and then there's a consequence if she does. If she does tattle on her sister and it's unnecessary, then have her do something nice for her sister, like give her her favorite toy or something, right? For a half hour or something. This is Ash again. Yelling sure takes forever to stop. Yeah, especially if you were yelled at as a kid, it becomes part of your normal. You see, I was never yelled at as a kid. That's why I never yelled. To me, it's not normal. I can't do it. So it just feels horrible. I couldn't do it. So it's hard if you were raised with it. It's just in your DNA almost. To you, it's more normal. To me, it wasn't. So would have been harder for me to stop yelling, but I knew what else to do. So, I've been working with kids forever, long before I had my own. So, but yeah, once you learn something else to do, it gets easier to stop. Yeah, it is a huge generational curse to break, but you're not your parents. I always say this to my clients. I was yelled at. Yeah, I know, but you're not your parents. If they drank, if they were alcoholics or beat you or whatever, you're not your parents. You don't have to repeat this stuff. Okay. I know it almost becomes not a comfort zone, not that you're comfortable with it, but yeah, it kind of does. You can have a negative comfort zone. So yelling can be your comfort zone, and that's what you're used to. Okay. I was used to a lot of humor, and my parents were very, just kind of never yelled or anything. So we talked things through. So yeah. This was not my normal, but it is tough. Yeah, it is. I remember, they won't know who they are. It's a long, long time ago. But when I was a kid, someone once said to me, "Oh, I feel sorry for you being adopted," because I was adopted and I was proud of it. I told everybody because I was chosen. I always felt special being adopted. Anyway, and they said, they were kind of a nasty little kid. They said, "I feel sorry for you being adopted." And her parents were so nasty and yelling, and we're just nasty people. And I remember thinking, yeah, I'm the one to be pitied, all right. Like I always remembered that. Kids can be so nasty. I don't know what I said to her. I was pretty good with coming back with stuff. I don't do that anymore, but yeah, I probably would have said something. Well, my parents don't yell at me, so. Okay, so I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer, because I've skipped a lot of questions. I do throw a lot of other stuff in here, which is really important to do, because if I'm just answering questions, it's the same stuff over and over and over again. Go to the behavior board, use consistent corrective actions. It's just the same stuff. If I talk about the psychology behind it, I think it helps a great deal. That's what coaching's all about. Not the first few sessions, but the 4th and 5th session. It's about the psychology behind it. I tell stories and why it's so important to follow through with this stuff. Makes it easier to do if you understand why you're doing it. Initially, I ask people to just do it without thinking, and then we get into all the nitty-gritty of why it works. How do I get my 3-year-old that suddenly doesn't like being looked at to understand that nobody's looking at her? She usually has an attitude about just ignore her. Yeah, if she gets upset about it, just go, whatever, or okay. Yeah, just ignore it. She's going for attention, by the way. She says she doesn't want to be looked at, but and yet she talks about it. So yeah, she wants attention. I'm assuming you discuss it with her. Well, people aren't looking at you. Do you do that? That's what the attention she's after. I would just say, no one's looking at you. You'll survive, whatever. That's what my mother would have said. You'll survive. So yeah, don't give it any attention. It's Ash. Watching your lives for like a week was more than enough for us to go through the last year and be able to really change the whole house. You give extra little bits all through. Yeah, I do. That's when I used to do daily lives, probably. I used to be on here every day. I just don't have time anymore, but I love doing lives. I miss it. I always say I'm going to get back into it, and then I just get busy. Friend's son hitting but isn't getting better. Asking nicely, guiding him, or raising her voice isn't helping her. She said, LOL. Asking nicely not to hit. No, use the behavior board. We're asking nicely. Do cops ask us nicely not to speed, or do they give us a ticket? Is it the polite request that makes the difference, or is it the consequences? Even as adults, right? Please don't speed. Okay, vroom, off you go. But if there's a ticket, right? It's all about consequences. It's all about learning, being accountable for your actions. I used to say to my kids, if you do good, if whatever you put out, you get back. And I used to say, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom. So I was always guiding them into making good decisions. So I would come in with a consequence if they did something naughty. Okay. Oops. Oh, I got to go over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. I do about 20 minutes on each platform. So I go from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok, and I'm on YouTube the whole time, which is where I save all my lives. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. If you want to know more, go to BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board once you sign up for my newsletter. You can look into my courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds. We're going to be working on the teenage one, by the way, so hopefully it'll be out in a couple of months. And then you can look into coaching. I do have a huge wait list right now, but I will get to it eventually if you want to work with me one-on-one. Or you can look into our podcast. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. We're having a blast doing it. And we keep pinching ourselves. We can't believe we're working together, and it's just been great. Anyway, so you can check that out. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms. If you want to watch us do the podcast, that's on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm on YouTube, and I'll stay there, but now I'm hopping over to Instagram. Bye now. Sorry, YouTube. I just have to go on Instagram here. There seem to be less buttons to push that time. They always change it. When I go from Instagram to TikTok, it's 7 buttons I have to push. It's a real nuisance. Do you know I push so many buttons throughout the day with work and that my thumbs get sore? Isn't that weird? They literally get sore. Okay, this is good. Okay, this is Frugal Mama Wolf. I remember that name on YouTube. Been watching for over a year. Only thing I can't stop is 4-year-old hitting 3-year-old. Not instigated. Other day attached her to my waist with dog leash for 1 hour. Demeaning or good idea? I don't know why, but I just don't like it. I do use leashes when they're runners to keep them alive, right? But I just don't like that. Just keep on with the behavior board. And you said not instigated. Are you sure about that? Is the 3-year-old maybe not hitting, but going, teasing? I don't know. I'd have to research that one. That would be coaching more if I really had to delve into it. But if the behavior board isn't working, I just don't like that tying them to your waist. It's not horrible, but it's better if you're talking to them nicely. But if you're discussing the bad behavior, I never discuss bad behavior. I deal with it, but I don't discuss it. So maybe if it's positive, it's not so bad. It just doesn't feel quite right. I can't be in the room all the time. I've watched on the camera. She just hits for no reason. Yeah, just try that behavior board. But yeah, I would have to figure that out. What else is going on? Like, it's usually something else going on too. Like, I know when people hire me, they'll say, I've done everything you said. I had to hire you because I couldn't figure, I've got a big wait list right now, and there's always something like it. I'll say, well, tell me how you say it. Tell me how you did that. Are you still yelling? Do you like angry, disappointed, or frustrated? That can lower a child's self-esteem. When their self-esteem is low, they tend to act out and be mean to others. It's just quite natural. So there could be other stuff going on. And that's what I'd have to look into that. But generally the behavior board usually works unless there's other stuff going on that would be more coaching, delving into it. Otherwise, just think about it. Do you ever look angry, frustrated, or disappointed? You shouldn't, because whenever you're disciplining a child, it should be like a business transaction. Okay, as soon as you look angry, disappointed, or frustrated, it's depleting their self-esteem, and we don't want to do that. Okay, sorry, I'm on Instagram now. I just came over from Facebook, and I'm on YouTube. That's who I was talking to. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me here on Instagram. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board when you join my newsletter. You can look into my courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds. The teen one we'll be working on soon. Should be coming out in a couple of months, fingers crossed. If you want to look into coaching, there is a big wait list for that, but I'll get to it eventually. That's one-on-one with me. Otherwise, you can check out our podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. My daughter and I do it together. And if you want to watch us do that together, that's on YouTube. A lot of people say they just listen to it in the car. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm more of a video person, but I'm trying to get into them more now. It was funny because I never listened to myself. It's agony, right? It's like, I think I'd rather have a filling pulled out through a nostril. I can't stand listening to myself. But anyway, I thought, I'm just going to listen to one of our podcasts. So I listened to it and I thought, wow, that was fantastic. I love that. I thought, wow, we were really good. Then I listened to another one and I hated it. I thought, oh, my voice was all whiny. I was annoying as anything. And my daughter, I could just tell she was cringing because of my, because she's the one who's so tactful. She has a real filter. And I don't. I just say whatever I'm thinking, and I often make her cringe. But it's funny. Here I thought, wow, that was great. And then the next one I thought was horrible. So it was funny. I haven't listened to anything since. Okay. Very hard to listen to yourself. Is it bad to use the behavior board more for my husband than my kids? Lots of couples use it. Tons of couples use it. But if you're going to use it as a marriage thing, and I won't get into it, but have your own separate behavior board. Put it in the master bathroom or something. So something like we can't undermine each other. If we do, we have to get a foot massage. Or I won't go into great detail, but some of the stories parents have told me are pretty funny. Anyway, so yeah, you can have your own behavior board. It's just an accountability chart. And it's sort of using humor too. Make the consequence something fun for the other person, not something horrible for you. So like a foot massage. Well, that might be horrible for you anyway, but you know what I'm saying. And lots of my clients also throughout the years have taken it to work and they use it with their employees, and the boss is on there too. Like no one can be late. If you're 5 minutes late, you have to bring coffee for people. I can't remember how they, it's a really common one though. If you're 5 minutes late, if it's a small office, you just have to come in with coffee if you know you're going to be late. If you're going to be more than 10 minutes late, you have to bring coffee and donuts for everybody. So just stuff like that. And the boss does it too. So yeah, it's fun. It's just an accountability chart. Okay, for an ADHD child, reward charts seem to be pushed. Well, I've never pushed one. I can't stand reward charts. Would you say this is something that is best used for a child with ADHD? If not, no, I hate them. I can't stand reward charts. They're sending the wrong message. What if your spouse had that for you? If you're good today, you'll get a gold star. It's demeaning and patronizing, right? It works in classrooms. It's not personal there. It's business. Classroom is personal. It's very different from parenting. It's not the same at all. So yeah, reward charts are fine in a classroom, but at home with parenting, a disaster. What you're saying to that child is you're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. And I don't see ADHD as a disability. I don't treat them any different. Those are all the kids I learned this with. I used to call them alphabet kids because they always had acronyms after their name. I used to have a funny acronym for myself, and I just can't remember what it was. It was COL or something. I called myself, because they'd say, hi, I'm, I don't know, Dan, and I have ADHD. And I said, I'm Lisa. I'm COL, crazy old lady. So, I don't like labels. But that's where I learned all this. They just might take a little bit more patience, but I've never worked with an easy kid because I was like a behavioral mentor. So no one ever said, here's an easy one, Lisa. They all went, good luck with this one. So teenagers, toddlers, whatever, I always got the challenging ones. And that's my strength. I like bringing out the best in them. It's not so much that I'm punishing bad behavior. That's part of it. I deal with stuff, right? But I'm more pulling out the good. That's always my goal, is to make them feel good. When they feel good, they do good. That's always my goal with kids. If they feel bad when they're with me, I'm not doing it right. They can be mad, but I don't want them to feel sad or bad. There's a difference. Mad is fine. If I've corrected something, that's just fine. But yeah, I don't want them to feel sad or bad. A 3-year-old needs to be addressed multiple times to complete a task. And then you said, not sure if it's blah, blah, blah. There's nothing else after that. So you're repeating yourself. What I would do is if it's a task that's a regular thing, like brushing your teeth, I would put down on the behavior board, that's free on my website, BratBusters.com. Their rule is brush teeth within 5 minutes of being asked to do so. And I would only ask once. If they don't do it, then I would come along, brush their teeth and help them out, get it done. Then we go to the board and I say, okay, so you didn't brush your teeth within 5 minutes of being asked to do so. Here's your consequence. See, make it a rule. Yeah, I never repeat myself. I just don't. You don't want to get into that because then they realize there's a threshold. Like what I mean by that is they realize, well, I don't have to do it the first time because they're going to say it 23 times. See, with me, if I say it the first time, they know it, they're not going to hear it again. So then they tend to just do, and it's only with stuff they need to do. I'm not nagging them all the time at all. So they had chores to do. They instigated them on their own because they knew that they just had to do it. If they didn't, then there'd be a consequence, right? I was going to say easy peasy. What a rude thing to say to people who are struggling with parenting. It isn't easy. It's easy once you know how to do this, but I teach you how to be a leader, and it is easy to maintain, but it's hard to learn. It's hard to do because you're fighting against a lot of frustration and anger, and your kids are talking back to you. So it isn't easy peasy to learn that. What a snotty thing to say. I almost said it. I didn't, and then I talked about it anyway because I have no filter. Anyway, so yeah, maintaining leadership, maintaining is easy. Getting there, getting that leadership crown on your head, it's hard work. Do you repeat yourself on a new day? No. If they didn't do it the first day, I've already dealt with it. So no. I never repeat myself. I know I'm repeating myself by saying that, but I just don't. It makes you look weak. Like if your boss asked you something at work, would he have to repeat himself? You see, it's like that. Yeah. You only repeat yourself when you don't have any respect. Once you've got respect, you don't need to repeat yourself, but you got to work there. The behavior board is designed to help you get there. But it takes time, 3 to 6 weeks before you start seeing results, 3 to 6 months, depending on the age, before it's sort of cemented, so long as you're consistent. It's hard work, though. But once you're there, maintaining is easy. Sorry, I'm scrolling through your questions. I don't just answer questions anymore because I've realized it gives a really warped sense of what this is all about. Everyone asks me about discipline. It's not about discipline. It's about connecting. I deal with bad behavior, but then I focus on the good kid, okay? Like that's the pool story. Check out the pool story. If you haven't already seen it, you can just Google BratBusters pool story. I can't say it again. I've just told it too many times. Do you have any advice for a 3.5-year-old with selective mutism? Now, I've worked with a lot of kids who have selective mutism. I'm not quoting it because it isn't something, but it's subjective. Now, I've heard so many different professionals say different things about it, and they say, yes, it is a thing. It's based on anxiety. And what it is they just literally will not talk in certain situations. A lot of kids will not speak at school. I think it's sort of a form of severe shyness. But I would have to assess that. I don't know if it's, and like I said, doctors have differing opinions on this. So I've asked around, and professionals say, no, it isn't a real thing. It's just real shyness. Or some people will say it is a real thing. It's a mental block. I don't know, but I would have to assess it before I could decide how to move forward. So sorry, but that's more coaching. Sorry about that. I have too many questions before I could give you a responsible answer. Okay, I did your potty training course with my 2.5-year-old, and she's making progress slowly. She now wakes up multiple times at night, wetting the bed, even no drinks after dinner help. Okay, she's 2.5, she's wetting the bed multiple times throughout the night. That's kind of tough because she might just have I can't talk about it because I'm not a doctor, but it might just be something physical that she just will grow out of that. She just doesn't hold it at night. She's used to going. If that's the case, I would probably put pull-ups on her, to be honest. I always say, once you potty train them, you never put them in pull-ups. But if she just has that bladder that just releases all the time, there are exceptions to that. But I don't like to put that in the course because I'm worried more people will use that. But yeah, I would. But you do get them up at, like, when you go to bed at 10 or 11, if they've gone to bed 2 or 3 hours earlier and you know they're going to probably wet the bed, I get them up to do a sleepy pee at 10 or 11 when I go to bed. And then that should hold them for the night. I can't remember the last time I went through the night without getting up to go pee. I don't use pull-ups. I go to the bathroom, but sometimes I wish I could just use pull-ups. Okay, be careful what you wish for. I do not mean that. I don't want to need to have to wear pull-ups, but okay, I know you say to ignore attitude, but what if your 3-year-old always grunts and yells at other family members, dad, grandparents, etc., to leave the room? It feels weird to ignore this since it's rude. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily ignore that. I would say that's enough, and I might take them out of the room. So if they're I'd say that's enough, let's go, and I might take them out for a few minutes, but I wouldn't discuss it. They know what you're doing. If they're that rude to say that to a grandparent, yeah, I would say that's enough. I would pull them out of the room, and I would say, you don't talk like that, and then I don't discuss it. I kind of just wait. I said, we'll just wait here for 5 minutes. So I would just go in a bathroom with them or something, and you can talk to them a little bit, but if they're mad or anything, don't. Oh, you asked about your niece. It's none of your business. Unless you've got custody of her, it's none of your business if she's rude to you. If someone else's child is rude to me, it's none of my business. I wouldn't say anything. Nothing. That's the parents' job. That's their job. They're sleeping on the job if they allow that. So yeah, it's up to them. I wouldn't even say anything to them because it's your personal relationship. Like I'm sure they know. They just don't know what to do about it. So yeah. This is funny. I had my granddaughter. I look after her one day a week, and she's 19 months old. So we were at the library. Now, this is different. I didn't realize how different I am as a grandmother than I was as a mother. Anyway, so she's 19 months old, and we were somewhere, and we were playing. Now, I wanted to get back. She needed a nap. So anyway, I wanted to get back, give her a snack, and put her down for an hour or so. So anyway, and I said to her, now, this would have been me with my own kids. Okay, time to go. We're going to go home, have a snack, and go to bed. And I just would have followed through and made it happen, right? This is the grandmother in me. I was quite surprised I did this. And I said to her, okay, I said, do you want to go home and have a snack and go to bed? I never talk like that to my own kids. She said no. And I said, okay, because I'm only here one day a week. I just want to be happy. So she missed out on that nap. Luckily, she's not a cranky kid, so she was okay, but she was tired by the time I handed her over to mom. And I said, sorry about that. Like, she never had that nap, but it just struck me as funny that I'm so different. I'm just there to play with her and have fun. And I didn't really want her to have a nap because we were having so much fun anyway. So, but yeah, I would never have done that with my own kids. I would have said, okay, time to go home. We're going to have a snack and a nap. And I would have made it happen. Granddaughter, no, I want to play. Okay, let's stay. So yeah, you have a different relationship with other people's kids. Okay, that's what I'm saying. But also, she is not my child. So if the parent said, by the way, in future, can you make sure she gets that nap? I would make sure. That's not a necessary nap. That's her second one. So sometimes they don't even do that. So, but I knew that she didn't have a big nap earlier. So I knew she probably did need it. Anyway, but yeah, that's their kid. It's not mine. But if they'd said, can you make sure she had a nap? I would have taken her home and made sure she had a nap. So you always respect the parents, whether they're doing something you like or they don't like. It's none of your business. Okay. Whether they ask you to do this or that with their kid, it's none of your business. Just follow through because it is their kid. Okay. I would never go against the parents, and they're doing a great job anyway. So I'm lucky. Because someone said, do you ever give them advice? I said, no, they're doing a great job. And even if they weren't doing a great job, I wouldn't say anything. Unsolicited advice in your personal life is nothing but criticism. It's just mean. It would be like if you had a friend who was overweight. By the way, I found a great diet center for you. It's like that. It's insulting. It's nasty. So yeah, I never give advice. You're here soliciting my advice as a parenting coach, but in my personal life, I don't do that. Oh, yes. Very good question. People don't usually ask me this one. This is Blue Diet Coke. Blue Diet Coke. Do you always wait the full 10 to 15 minutes before giving the second consequence? For example, they escalate throwing toys after giving initial consequence. No, I always wait. You've said you'd be lying otherwise. You give them 15 minutes or 10 minutes. You got to give them 10 or 15 minutes. Otherwise, you're a liar. You have to follow through with what you say. Leaders say what they mean and mean what they say. It's very important. So yeah, no matter what they're doing, you can prevent them. You can physically restrain them if they're getting violent. Don't talk to them though. And so they're mad because they don't want to do that first consequence. Then you go, oh, 1 more minute. Sound as calm as possible. Oh, 1 more minute. And then beep, beep, the alarm goes. Let's go to the board. Okay, so you broke the rule. Then you didn't do the first consequence. Now you got media blackout. Follow through and start. Media blackout starts now. They are spinning around. They're so mad. That's okay. You're calm as anything. Calmer you are, the better it works. Great advice. A new grandma, and I think I was telling my daughter how to do or what not to do. Yeah, it's insulting. You're criticizing them. It would be like, I'm very into fitness and health. It would be like me micromanaging my friends, their eating or workout habits, right? Think about it. How would that go over? Yeah, it's like that. Besides, there's a lot of things that have changed throughout the years, like with kids and that, like the way we used to put our kids down to sleep. I remember when I had my first child, it was always on their side. Then with my daughter, it was on her back. It changes all the time. So many things change. So they probably know a lot of stuff that you don't know too, like a lot of stuff about food and stuff that we didn't know about. So yeah, there's a lot of new stuff out there. And even like I had to get a new car because I had a 2-seater. I had to get a new car and a baby car seat and that for my granddaughter. I got it all rigged up, mirror and the shades and all that. So I got it all rigged up. But I didn't know I was putting her in wrong. I had that, that thing that goes across the 2 straps. I just had it here. And my son said, no, it goes all the way up, like to here. That thing that holds these straps together. I didn't know that. So yeah, I had no idea. I thought it was fine right there. Nope. I was doing that wrong. So yeah, they know a lot more than I do about a lot of stuff with kids because they read up on it, right? And I'm not a safety net. Like I don't read up on how to put a kid in a car seat, or I did, but I didn't see that part. I did actually read up on it, but alternative consequences for a 3-year-old. She can't brush my hair because it's very curly. Well, that was just one example. Like if my kids forgot to do a chore or something, I'd say, get the brush, and they'd brush my hair for 5 minutes. They hated doing it, and I love having it done. But it can be, they can just wipe down the kitchen sink, or they can wipe down a window, or clean out toothpaste in the bathroom sink, or, anything, any chore. It doesn't have to be anything big, any chore. How old should my toddler be before I stop repeating? He's nearly 2. Well, my granddaughter's 19 months old. What I say is okay, we're going to pack up and then we're going to go out. If she doesn't start doing it, I just pack up and then we go out. I don't try and get her to do a chore. She's 19 months old. So yeah, I just say, okay, let's pack up. She usually joins in and does it with me. She calls it put away. So I'm like, yeah, great. Okay. So yeah, I just say what we're going to do, and then I follow through. I don't repeat it. So, okay, time to brush your teeth. If she says no, I brush her teeth, right? Time to change your diaper. No, I change your diaper. You're little, take charge of this stuff that needs to be done. Just follow through. The more you repeat, the more they ignore. I'm going to read out a couple of things here. This is kind of weird, but this was actually something. Oh, she's not on here. She's usually here. Tabitha on YouTube. She said something I thought was interesting. I always say, if your kids are acting out, take full responsibility. Like it's your fault. Blame yourself. Look in the mirror. Be a leader. They won't act out. That's the way I always talk, right? Because leadership is leading, and it's on you. When I was working with kids, if they acted out under my care when I was with them, If they acted out, I always thought, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? They weren't even my kids. I only saw them for like an hour a week, maybe. I always took responsibility for kids' behavior when they're with me. Okay. So anyway, and it was interesting because so many parents, and then parents say, way to shame and blame the parents. And I go, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not trying to shame you, I'm trying to blame you. I want you to take responsibility. And then I always say this, I say, it's funny how you're so quick to blame your children, these innocent little victims of your parenting, and you're so quick to blame them, but not yourself. I find that you're never going to get anywhere with leadership if you think it's your kids. It's always you. I managed to get respect with all the kids I worked with, toddlers right through to troubled teenagers. And I had to work for it, but I mean, I got it. But it was always me. I was the leader. I never blamed them. If they weren't following me in a respectful way, and I wasn't respecting them, obviously, I give respect to get it. But then it was on me. I thought, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? But Tabitha said, it's victim shaming the kids, which is true. If you're blaming them for their behavior, they're the victims and you're shaming them. So you've got to look in a mirror, say, if they're acting out, what am I missing here? It's always you. I teach parenting. I don't teach kidding, toddlering, or teenagering. I teach parenting. You lead, they will follow. It's just the way it is. They like themselves when they're with a good leader. They want to do good. You make them feel good. If they feel good, they do good. Okay. I got to go over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. If not, check out BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board. If you join my newsletter, you can get one of my courses. I have one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds. We'll be working on the teenage course soon. Hopefully in a couple months, it'll be out. I'm not sure when. And also you can look into coaching if you want to work with me one-on-one. I do have a big wait list, but I'll get to it eventually. And what else? And the podcast, my daughter and I do it together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, but we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us do it together. We work together and we do the podcast together. And anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm on YouTube the whole time whenever I'm doing a live. That's where they're all saved. And I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. I'm going to TikTok now. Happy parenting. Oh, sugar, what the heck? Nope, I don't want that. Nope. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay, go. I had to push 11 buttons to get to TikTok. It's usually 7. What did they do? Okay. This is Ashley Matthews on YouTube. Love the podcast. Had one of my questions answered. Oh, excellent, Ashley. My daughter asks all the questions on the podcast. We have a blast. We keep pinching ourselves. We get to work together. She's her own boss. And she's more my boss, to be honest. She does all the marketing and all the planning. And, but yeah, it's great. When you work for yourself, you tend to work longer hours, but you have flexibility. You can work when you work. Like it's 7:30 at night and here I am working. So, but yeah, so you tend to work more, but you can decide when you want to work. But yeah, it is, it's a lot of work, but we love what we do. So. Yeah, someone asked to be invited on the live. I only let one person on a live a couple of years ago when I first started doing them. And they wanted my audience. And on that live, someone big, my daughter said someone big would have shared the live. They didn't do it again. So obviously they didn't like me that much, but they shared the live. I had like 26,000 people on that live and I was brand new at it. And I let someone in and all they were trying to do was sell their stuff to my audience. I didn't know how to get rid of them. It was a nightmare. Anyway, so yeah, I've never let anyone in since. It was funny. But I was panicking, trying to get rid of them. I finally did, but it was funny. Okay, welcome to my live. I'm on TikTok now. If you want to check out my website, it's BratBusters.com. I'm a parenting coach. You can see my free behavior board when you join the newsletter. It's like a mini course. It also has a toddler section on it because the behavior board starts at the age of 3. And you're on there too. That's what makes it different and that's what makes it work. If anyone else has parents on their behavior board that they're teaching all this stuff, I don't know anyone else out there, but I invented that. I put the parents on there about 20 years ago. Anyway, it just changed everything because parents understand that you lead by example, not by dictatorship, okay? You give respect to get it. Anyway, you can also check out my courses. I have 2 boot camp courses, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds. We will soon be working on the teenage one. That's our next project planned. And so hopefully that'll be out in the next couple, 2 or 3 months maybe. And also you can look into private coaching one-on-one with me if you want. I do have a big wait list for that, but I'll get to it eventually. Also, our podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. We're having a lot of fun doing it. It's on all the platforms. And if you want to see us doing it, it's on YouTube. So you can, if you want to watch us talk. Okay, so, and I just had a video go viral on all my platforms. I think viral is when they get 1 million views on all the platforms. Anyway, it was the one that we didn't expect. We were talking about it. It's hard to get a viral video. We don't go for that anyway. We just go for the daily update. You know what I mean? We don't go for, if you're always going for viral, you're going to do stuff that isn't right. So anyway, we just put stuff out that we feel is right. And anyway, but one went viral, and it was one that we did not expect at all. It was something about the co-sleeping. It was about co-sleeping, which I have no opinion on. But if you want to stop co-sleeping, I'll tell you how to do it. But anyway, and it just got so much attention, good and bad. So we're shocked at that. So what we're going to do is we're just discussing that today. We'll probably end up doing a podcast on co-sleeping. I had no idea it was so polarizing, because when clients hire me and they want to stop co-sleeping, they're already on board with this. They already want to do whatever they got to do to stop co-sleeping. But a lot of people were defending it. And I don't say don't do it. That's up to you if you want to co-sleep with your kids. But geez, it was really interesting. I don't read any comments or DMs. My daughter does though. So she was telling me. Okay, so I already introduced myself, didn't I? I think I did. Anyway, so I'm here answering questions, but I'm also here just throwing other stuff in, because if I'm only answering questions, then people tend to think that parenting is all about discipline, in my view. It's not. It's about connecting. Discipline is a tiny part of parenting. It's really good if you've seen the pool story. It just explains how I treat children. I deal with bad behavior, but I always focus on the good kid. I always want kids to feel good about themselves when they're with me. When they feel good, they do good, okay? I want to bring out the best in them. I don't want to just be dealing with the worst. I do deal with that, but I want to bring out the best. I always treat them like they're good kids, but I deal with bad behavior. That's the pool story. So you can look up BratBusters pool story. Am I on the right channel? Am I on the parenting one? Yes, I must be. Sorry, but I often get mixed up with that. I got a couple different channels here on TikTok. My other one is just old lady fitness stuff. I hardly ever post on there anymore. I just don't have time. But every so often I'll pop up on there. People usually let me know. 3-year-olds are the new terrible 2s. They always were. 3 is the fork in the road. Okay. The reason it didn't used to be that bad is parents had more of a handle on parenting back in the old days with the old-fashioned authority style. I don't teach that. But then when the pleaser parent style came out, which has been trendy now for about 30, 40 years, I saw it coming with participation awards. I thought, what a freaking disaster. They're going to be raising a bunch of self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. I just thought it was a disaster. And I still agree with that. I don't know who's teaching it. I don't know. Anyway, so, but what happened is 3 was always the time when the fork in the road, when kids can stop and think, do my parents know what they're doing or not? And they either get easier or they get better. Okay, so that's why it says that you're probably a pleaser parent, and that's why they're getting worse, because they realize you don't have a handle on things, on yourself usually. By the way, the pleaser parent style is all about trying to make everything easy and pleasant for their kids. Total disaster. It backfires. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes, okay? Also, the pleaser parents down the road, it will all backfire on you. It's been good for my business, but I'd rather it not work that way. So it seems all nice and lovely, discussing all the big feelings and big emotions, all these mini therapy sessions. It's a total disaster. It'll backfire. You're not raising strong, independent thinking children at all. Anyway, so yeah, it came out with participation awards. And I used to have a column in the paper about 20 years ago. And I did a column on this. It was not popular at all. People were not ready to hear what I was saying. And what had happened was participation awards were really big. They started earlier, but they were really big. This pleaser parent style had a strong hold on parents. Anyway, they're coming out of it now. But anyway, because they're realizing it's a disaster. So anyway, the column that I wrote was responding to an article I'd read in California, I think it was, and a mother was suing a school because her child did not get a participation award for sports day. She sued the school and she won. Her child never even went to sports day, but she still sued the school and won. Talk about woke. That was before the woke culture really took over. Now it came in, it's going out now. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, isn't that fascinating? So people hated me for hating on that. And I hated on it anyway. I didn't care what people thought. So as always says what I was thinking. Okay, so let's see your questions here. But anyway, that it's going back to that fork in the road, that when they stop and think. It's when they start to be able to reason. That's why the behavior board starts at the age of 3. They have the ability to stop and think before they act. They start to reason things out. If they know you are out of control and you don't know what you're doing, and if they have it in them, they're going to get more difficult. If you've got control, you're a leader, and you control yourself. It's all about controlling yourself. You don't show anger, you don't yell or anything. They get easier. Their kids are always happier with a leader. They're drawn to a leader. You're like the Pied Piper. When you're a leader, kids love that. They love to feel safe. They love to know what's going to be happening. They love to be able to predict things because leaders are very consistent. You say what you mean and you mean what you say. So you want that leadership. I teach leadership. Okay. I don't quite understand this question. Toddler constantly throwing stuff off the bed. How would I go about quick correction, I guess? Does it matter if they throw stuff off the bed? Once they've fallen asleep, then just cover them up and leave it, like, you know? I don't quite understand why that's a problem. If they throw stuff, if they keep throwing toys out of a crib, I wouldn't give it back to them. I might the first time. The first time they do it, I'd say no, hand it back. And the next time they do it, I might go in their room and I'd say no, and then I might put it away where they can't see it. So they learn very quickly. The thing is, no one wants the scene. No one wants the fit, scene, meltdown, or tantrum. I want that. That's where the lesson is. The rainbow's at the other end of that storm. You want the storm. You want them to process they can't throw stuff and you're going to keep picking it up. You want them to process, if I keep throwing stuff out, I'm going to lose it. You want them to go through that. You want them to learn. Otherwise, they're learning nothing. So you want to go through those scenes. Everyone's afraid of them. I walk right into it. I'm like, oh, opportunity for a lesson here, right? If you're afraid of a fit, scene, meltdown, or tantrum, they're in charge and they know it. I've been using your tips and it works. Oh, perfect, Veronica. I always say, I just give the advice. You're the ones who do all the work. So good for you. You're obviously doing the work. How do I get my almost 2-year-old to stop saying mine? He says it for everything. Just ignore it. If he has something and you want like a remote control, if he gets his hands on a remote control and you say, oh, can I please have that? Or he already knows he shouldn't have it. I would just say, give it back. I don't even use the word please. If they've done something naughty, you don't need to say, can I please have? Okay. So we've taken something he knows he shouldn't have. You just say, okay, I'll have that. If he says mine, I pry his little fingers off it and take it away and completely ignore the mine, completely ignore it. The only reason he keeps saying that is you must have given it power. They don't keep saying stuff unless you've already given it power. If you've addressed it, it's not yours, it's mine. All that wimpy talk. Oh, I don't do that. Nope. Just say, I'll have that, and then pry his little fingers off and put it away. They learn, but I never show anger, frustration, or disappointment. If you do show those emotions, you're not a leader. It doesn't work. When should I stop listening to the podcast in front of him? 35 months. We're very aware of that, by the way. We know kids are listening. So I'm a kind of a loose cannon. I can't always control myself. But my daughter edits a lot out. If I say, what did I say the other day? I said something and she goes, Mom, we can't talk. I think I don't know what I said. I can't remember. She goes, I got to edit that whole question out because you said one word that we don't want a kid to hear. It wasn't horrible. It was, I don't know what it was, but anyway. So yeah, we're pretty careful with that. And whenever I'm coaching, I never like kids to listen because it's so personal. But this general advice, it's not that bad if they hear it. You know, then they kind of know where that you're learning this. You know what's fascinating too is, especially with teenagers, and I never work with kids. I only work with teenagers. I only work with parents. So, but this often happens with older kids and teenagers. If they're like, let's say I've been working with the parents for 2 or 3 weeks, and then the parents do something that the kid doesn't agree with, or the teenager doesn't agree with. They'll often say, can you ask that woman, meaning me, can you ask Lisa, or that woman, whatever they call me, can you ask her if she agrees with me or you? Do you know what's fascinating? The parents usually laugh when they say that. Can you believe they asked us if you agree? And I said, they're right, you're wrong. It's rare that I ever agree with the parents. When a kid says that to the parent, can you ask that woman if they agree with me or you? I almost always agree with the kid or the teenager. So they get this. They understand what's fair and reasonable. They never ask for anything ridiculous. It's always, that's what I find, is they understand that this is very fair and reasonable. So they become more fair and reasonable as they get older, especially. They get it. But yeah, I always find that fascinating, because as soon as the parents say, can you believe they asked me this? They asked me to ask you something. And I usually say, now be prepared, because I'll probably agree with them. And if you're ever on the fence, especially with a teenager, if you're ever on the fence, give them what they want. If you're not sure, give in to them. Don't ask me to go on about that right now, but yeah, err on the side of giving in to a teenager. Rather, if you're not sure about something, should I do this or shouldn't I? Go on the side of them. Do you notice any behavior differences with kids who are in daycare versus stay at home daily with mom? No, I don't. If you're a leader, they're kind of they do have often more social skills, obviously, because they're in daycare. So they obviously pick up more social skills. But no, overall, no, I don't. Which is interesting. You'd think there would be a difference, wouldn't you? But no. Okay. Is it too late to make changes with teens, 13 and 17? That's my specialty, is teenage stuff. I used to work with delinquent teenagers, and not that your kids are delinquent, but I mean, that's my favorite age by far. So no, it's never too late, but it's harder, and you have to give in more than you would think. Parents don't usually, I always say, you're not going to like, if you want to hire me, I don't have a course on teenagers yet. I hopefully will in a few months. But anyway, but yeah, I say you're not going to like the first session, because we're never addressing the teenager's behavior in the first session or two. It's always trying to build on your relationship with your teenager. I need to understand where you're at. And the first session is always, let's try this and try that. And then the second session, I'm going to assess how it went. And then we're going to go from there. And yeah, but it's trickier with teenagers, because they're going to be adults soon. And you probably haven't changed your parenting. Parenting changes in those teen years. I'm going to read my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will tune you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, you negotiate as much as possible with teenagers. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's reciprocity, right? You're building mutual respect. Number 3, with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. If they do something stupid, I would say this. I would say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Just like you make mistakes, they make mistakes. We all do. You have to let a bit more go, because they're going to be adults soon, right? So you want them to learn how to make mistakes and correct them. Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times with teenagers. I'll often teach a parent how to connect with their teenager. They'll be out spending time with them, and then they'll want to discuss all the ways they disappointed them the last 2 years. And I say, don't. And they say, when do we discuss the bad times? And I say, never. That is your revenge. That's the only reason you want to discuss them. You don't. There's no point. It's just going to go down a bad road. And number 5, with teenagers, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy. They will die on any hill. Even if they know they're wrong, they're going to keep fighting. So you can either be a right fighter or you can be happy. That's my top 5 tips for teenagers. Okay. What is normal for 2-year-old tantrums? In what way? And by the way, there's 4 things that kids are born to do or they're never going to do. It's in their DNA. It's in them genetically. These are 4 things they're either going to do or they're just never going to do, because it's not in their nature. One is tantrums. One is hitting or any aggression. The other one is running, and the other one is climbing. Runners and climbers often go together, but not always. They have no physical fear, right? So those are 4 things. It's not your fault that they have tantrums, but it is your job to train them out of them over a period of time. By the time they're 3 to 3.5 or 4, they should not be having tantrums anymore. It doesn't mean that they don't get angry, but there's different ways of dealing with it. My son has all of them. Someone once said, "Oh, my kid has 7 of them." There's only 4. Yeah, some kids are just more feisty and more riled up than others. That's just the way it is. But okay, I'm going to address this, but Ashley said, advice for having weak leadership. I'm not a leader in my personal life at all. I'm a follower. I do have a strong personality, but I'm not a fighter. I'm not a leader at all. I don't like confrontation. I don't want to be in charge of anything. I'm a follower. And so you don't need to be a leader to be a leader with kids. I'm very good at leading children because they need it. I love children. I give them what they need. They need a leader. So I give them what they need, right? But in my personal life, I'm a follower. So you don't need to be a natural born leader because I'm not. So at all, I hate it. And I'm only a follower in my inner circle, obviously. People I trust and love and all that. But yeah, it's not in my nature to be a leader. So I can't stand it. So much work. My daughter loves planning everything. She has everything all planned out. She tells me where to go. If we go out for dinner, you should see it. She does all the ordering. She does it. I love that. The only thing I wish she would do is lay out my clothes so I'd know what to wear. Like I truly, it's gotten to be a joke at this point. Yeah, I don't like leading anything. So don't worry about it. You can still be a leader for your children. And there's this saying, we're just talking about it the other day, that there's this old saying that came out, I don't know when, like probably 40, 50 years ago. And it says, and it's talking about adult relationships or friendships or whatever, or romantic relationships. And it's this: you have to teach people how to treat you. That is one of the most ignorant things I've ever heard in my whole life. It's not my job to teach an adult how to treat me. You've got to come fully formed. Like, it's not my job. If you treat me poorly, that's not my job. It's your job. Children are different. Children are different. It's just different with them. You do have to teach them how to treat you and other people. They do need guidance. Okay, so it's different. But with adults, that came out more in a romantic thing. Like, you have to teach people how to treat you, and anyone, I guess. But it's absolutely one of those stupid sayings that became popular that I ever heard of. It's so ignorant. It's just ignorant. No, you do not have to. It's not your job. If someone treats you poorly, an adult, it's their fault, not yours. It's basically putting the blame on the victim. But yeah, it is your job to teach your children how to treat you. Someone just said one word: screaming. I don't know, your kid's 16, 6 months. What are they screaming? Mad, happy? It's not a question, so I don't know how to answer that. Okay, what's a good skill building consequence for 11-year-old besides taking screen time? I don't know what you mean by skill building. I don't use that term. It's Yoshi on YouTube. Okay, you only take screens away once you've done the first consequence. So you have 2 consequences for the kids. The first one's a positive action, get them to do a chore or something. So if they do something bad, you get them to do something good to make it up. If they won't do that, because you can't force them to do that. Anyway, then you resort to taking something away like screen time. There's lots of things you can take away. So you can take away a favorite toy, a favorite activity, but I would never take away social stuff or family movie night or something where it's like connecting with other people. I don't take that away. Like, sometimes people will say, well, you can't go to the birthday party this weekend. I would never do that to a kid. They can still go. But what you can do is you can delay the fun. You might say, look, you can still go to the birthday party. Oh, no, I wouldn't change it because other people are relying on them. But it might be something like this. You say, okay, so we were going to go out for ice cream tonight, but you're not going to get it. So you're inventing leverage. So you're taking away something you were never even going to do in the first place. So that's one way of doing it. I don't like doing that one, but sometimes that's all we've got. If you've got nothing else you can take away that they would miss in a 24-hour period, then you might have to resort to inventing leverage. We were going to go out for ice cream tonight, but because you didn't do that first consequence, now we're not. Or the rest of the family is, and you're staying home with me or whatever. Then you got to flip a coin to see who gets to stay home with the angry kid. And whenever kids are in the doghouse, I don't like that term, but you know what I mean. When they're in, like they have to stay home because and with no ice cream, you're trying to connect with them, and you don't talk about the bad behavior. Everyone wants to do the lecturing. It just doesn't make any sense at all to me. They already know they were bad. They know they didn't do the consequence. They understand all that. There's no way I'd discuss it. No way. The more you explain, the more they complain. Don't dwell in the negative. That's what you're doing. Where you put your energy, where you put your focus is what grows. If you put all your energy and focus into the bad behavior and discussing it, you're going to get more of it, guaranteed. Okay, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board when you join the newsletter. You can look into my courses. Sorry, my mind's already gone somewhere else. I've got to finish this. You can look into my courses. I've got one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds. You can also look into coaching. There's a big wait list, but I will get to it eventually. What else? Oh yeah, I can hear, if you want to listen to our podcast, it's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us do it. My daughter and I work together, and we do the podcast together. She does all my marketing and all my planning. She's self-sufficient. I don't know what she does, to be honest. She manages all that, and she's phenomenal. She's a really hard worker. So, but I don't have anything to do with what she does. And then she kind of tells me what to do, to be honest. She does all the planning for the business. So I'm the face of the business, but she's the one. I always say I'm the car, but she's the one driving it. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again, hopefully soon. I used to love doing lives. I did them every single day for years there, and I just haven't had time lately. But hopefully I'll get back into them. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting.